First Contact Protocol. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the ESS Horizon, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, watching as the massive alien station grew larger against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. After decades of searching the cosmos, humanity had finally made contact with an interstellar civilization. Or rather, they had found us. Captain, the Hegemony delegation requests your presence in the docking bay in 30 minutes, Lieutenant Walsh announced, his voice tight with the same mixture of excitement and apprehension that had permeated the ship since receiving the transmission 3 days ago. Understood. Is Dr. Okafor ready with the first contact protocol? Maya asked, smoothing down her ceremonial uniform. Yes, Captain. The entire science team is standing by. Maya nodded, taking one last look at the alien station. The structure was a marvel of engineering. A massive ring nearly 50 kilometers in diameter, rotating slowly to generate gravity, with crystalline spires jutting outward like the spokes of an ancient wheel. According to the translation of their message, this was merely an outpost of something called the Galactic Hegemony, an alliance of 17 spacefaring species that had dominated this sector of the galaxy for millennia. And they had been watching Earth for some time. The alien delegation waiting in the docking bay was a biological spectacle. 7 different species stood in formation, their varied physiologies a testament to the diversity of evolutionary paths in the cosmos. At the forefront stood a tall, slender being with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Translator implants identified this being as Ambassador Zix of the Trescian Confederation, the current leading voice in the Hegemony Council. We welcome the representatives of Earth to our observation outpost. The ambassador's words came through the translator with mechanical precision. Your species has finally achieved sufficient technological advancement to warrant formal introduction to the galactic community. Maya stepped forward, performing the diplomatic greeting that had been rehearsed countless times. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we are honored to establish peaceful contact with the galactic hegemony. We come with open minds and hopes for mutual understanding. A subtle ripple of color, perhaps amusement or dismissal, passed through Ambassador Zix's skin. Indeed, your species has developed rather uniquely. Most achieve spaceflight much later in their evolutionary timeline. Your biological aggression coupled with your technological progress makes you something of an anomaly. Dr. Eliza Okafor, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward. We're eager to learn about the evolutionary paths of other sentient species. Our diversity has been our strength. A smaller alien with multiple compound eyes made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Biological diversity within a single species is rare and typically inefficient. Most achieve stability and optimization through guided evolution. Maya noticed the subtle shift in the room. These weren't just observations but assessments. Humanity was being evaluated. We've prepared detailed information about Earth's ecosystems, our biological makeup, and our cultural history, Maya offered. In the spirit of mutual exchange, Ambassador Zix waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. That won't be necessary. We've been monitoring your transmissions for decades. We know about your wars, your politics, your primitive attempts at genetic engineering. What interests us is how you've managed to survive this long with such an unstable genetic structure. The meeting continued for hours, but the underlying message became increasingly clear. Humanity was seen as a curiosity, a primitive newcomer barely worthy of notice. The hegemony had categorized Earth as a Class 3 developing world, one with basic spaceflight capability, but still millennia away from the technologies that powered their civilization. 3 months after first contact, the situation changed dramatically. Captain, we've lost contact with the research outpost on Europa, Lieutenant Walsh reported, his face grim on the view screen. Maya was now stationed at Earth's newly established Diplomatic Coordination Center in Geneva. Was there any warning? Any distress signal? She asked, already pulling up the outpost's data. Nothing. One moment they were transmitting routine updates, the next, silence. Within days, 2 more outposts went dark, one on Mars, another in the asteroid belt. When contact was finally re-established with the Mars facility, the reports were disturbing. They just appeared inside the habitat, the shaken facility director reported. 4 alien ships of unknown configuration. They bypassed all our detection systems. When security responded, they were simply neutralized. No visible weapons, just collapsed. The aliens accessed our central database and then withdrew without explanation. The pattern repeated across the solar system. Grief, surgical intrusions followed by unexplained deaths among security personnel who attempted to intervene. Earth's military forces mobilized, but against technology that could seemingly bypass any defense, the outlook was grim. Then something unexpected happened. "Captain Chen, you need to see this." Dr. Okafor burst into Maya's office without ceremony, tablet in hand. The autopsy reports from the security personnel at the Lunar Gateway. Maya scrolled through the data, her brow furrowing. "I don't understand. These show normal biological functions right up until the moment of death. No tissue damage, no toxins, nothing that would explain sudden neural shutdown." "Exactly." Elise's eyes were wide with excitement rather than fear. "But look at the comparative scans from the alien intruder we managed to contain." The screen shifted to show microscopic imagery of tissue samples. "These are from the alien's nervous system. See these microstructures? They're completely deteriorated. Something caused a catastrophic breakdown at the cellular level." "A weapon?" "Not exactly." Elisa shook her head. "We found trace biological elements in the environment, something like spores or microorganisms. They were present in all affected areas, including on the clothing of our personnel who died. But here's the thing. Our people had these same microorganisms in their systems, completely inert, causing no harm whatsoever. In the alien, they became aggressively destructive, specifically targeting neural pathways." Maya leaned back, processing the implications. "Are you saying we have some kind of biological defense system that we didn't even know about?" "It's more complex than that," Elisa explained. "These microorganisms appear to be symbiotic with human biology. They've probably been with us for our entire evolutionary history. But when they encounter non-human neural systems, particularly those with certain alien biochemistries, they become lethal." As they spoke, reports began flooding in from across the solar system. Alien incursions had mysteriously halted. Intercepted communications revealed confusion and alarm spreading through hegemony forces. Then came the message from Ambassador Zix, requesting an immediate conference. The tone had shifted dramatically from condescension to something approaching fear. "We wish to discuss the immediate cessation of biological hostilities," the ambassador stated without preamble when the connection was established. "Your deployment of neural-targeted bioweapons constitutes a severe violation of hegemony conventions." Maya exchanged glances with Dr. Okafor before responding. "Ambassador, we have deployed no weapons. We've been defending against unprovoked attacks on our facilities. Do not dissemble, Captain Chen. Your species carries a biological agent that causes neural collapse in non-human sentience. 17 of our reconnaissance specialists have died. The agent spreads through environmental systems and appears engineered specifically to target non-human neural patterns." The realization struck Maya with sudden clarity. The hegemony believed humanity had deliberately engineered and deployed a biological weapon. The truth was far more profound. Evolution on Earth had equipped humans with an invisible defense system, a symbiotic relationship with microorganisms that had evolved alongside humanity for millions of years. "Ambassador, I believe there's been a fundamental misunderstanding," Maya said carefully. "What you're detecting isn't a weapon we've created, but rather a natural biological symbiosis that exists within all humans. We weren't aware of its effect on non-human neural systems until your forces initiated contact." The ambassador's skin flashed with patterns that the translator couldn't interpret. "You expect us to believe your species accidentally possesses a perfectly targeted biological agent that protects only humans while neutralizing other sentient species. Evolution on Earth took a unique path, Dr. Okafor interjected. Our planet's history includes multiple competing hominid species. It's entirely possible that this symbiotic relationship gave Homo sapiens an evolutionary advantage over other intelligent primates. The implications hung in the silence that followed. Humanity hadn't created a weapon. Humanity itself was the weapon, carrying within them microscopic guardians that had evolved to ensure human dominance on their home planet, and, apparently, beyond. The galaxy had just become a very different place. The invisible advantage. The Hegemony Council chamber aboard the massive station Concordia hummed with tense energy. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations, some humanoid, others wildly divergent in form, sat arranged in concentric rings, their attention fixed on the holographic display at the center of the chamber. "The analysis is conclusive," announced Science Director Nrek, an avian-like being whose feathered crest stood rigid with stress. "The human microbiome contains symbiotic organisms that become neurologically lethal when exposed to non-human nervous systems. The effect appears indiscriminate, affecting all tested hegemony species with varying speed but identical lethality." Ambassador Zix's skin rippled with patterns of deep crimson, a sign of extreme distress in Trescian physiology. And there is no defense, no countermeasure, none detected thus far. The microorganisms adapt rapidly, evolving to overcome any biological barriers we attempt to establish. They appear to have co-evolved with humans for millions of years, forming a perfect symbiotic relationship. Military Commander Vex, a massive reptilian with scared exoskeletal plates, slammed a clawed appendage onto the council table. "This is preposterous. A primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel cannot possibly possess biological defenses that render our most advanced technologies irrelevant." "Yet the evidence is irrefutable," countered a myriad representative, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep concern. "Wherever humans go, these microorganisms follow. They can survive in vacuum, radiation, and extreme temperatures. They remain dormant until activated by proximity to non-human neural systems. It is the perfect passive defense mechanism." The council erupted into chaotic debate. Some advocated for immediate quarantine of the entire Sol system. Others argued for more extreme measures, the sterilization of Earth to eliminate what they perceived as an existential threat to galactic stability. "We cannot act without full information," Zix finally declared, silencing the chamber. "We will send a diplomatic delegation to Earth under stringent biological containment protocols. We must understand whether this is truly a natural phenomenon or a weapon of unparalleled sophistication." On Earth, the scientific community had mobilized with unprecedented speed. Laboratories across the planet focused on understanding the newly discovered symbiotic relationship that humans had unknowingly carried throughout their evolutionary history. Dr. Eliza Okafor stood before the United Earth Council, presenting findings from the international research consortium she now led. "We're calling them Prometheans," she explained, gesturing to the magnified holograms showing microscopic organisms with complex internal structures. "They've been with us since before our species evolved, hiding in plain sight within our microbiome. They're completely harmless to humans. In fact, they appear to provide subtle benefits to our immune system and neural development. But they're lethal to aliens," observed Council President Mbeki. "Not by design," Eliza clarified. "The Prometheans form a symbiotic relationship with human neural chemistry. When exposed to non-human neural systems, they attempt to establish the same relationship but can't reconcile the biochemical differences. The attempt to integrate causes a cascade failure in alien neural pathways." Captain Maya Chen, now serving as Earth's primary diplomatic liaison with the hegemony, frowned thoughtfully. "Can they be removed from human hosts? Or neutralized?" "That's the thing," Eliza shook her head. "They're not just on us or in us. They're part of us. They integrate with our cells at a fundamental level. Attempting to remove them would be like trying to remove mitochondria from our cells. It would kill us before it succeeded. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity couldn't rid themselves of these protective microorganisms, even if they wanted to. Every human who ventured into space would carry with them an invisible shield that rendered them lethal to alien life. So what are our options? President Mbeki finally asked. Containment might be possible, Eliza suggested. We're developing environmental systems that can filter promethanes from air and surfaces. It's not perfect, but it could allow for controlled interaction in specified environments. Maya nodded slowly. That gives us something to offer the hegemony. A way forward that doesn't involve isolation or conflict. The diplomatic conference took place in Earth orbit aboard a specially constructed station designed to minimize biological transfer. Despite the precautions, the alien delegates remained sealed within environmental suits, taking no chances with the invisible threat that every human in the room represented. We have confirmed your scientific findings, Ambassador Zik stated, the translator rendering their words in a flat monotone. These Promethean organisms appear to have evolved naturally on your world. A remarkable coincidence that they provide your species with such advantageous protection. Maya recognized the skepticism in the statement. Earth's evolutionary history is unique in many ways, Ambassador. Our planet experienced multiple extinction events that shaped life in unexpected directions. The Prometheans likely evolved during periods when multiple intelligent hominid species competed for dominance. A biological weapon created not by science but by evolution itself, observed Commander Vex, who had insisted on joining the diplomatic mission. Convenient. Dr. Okafor stepped forward. We've developed containment protocols that could allow for safe interaction between our species. Environmental filtration systems, designated contact zones with specialized treatment processes. You misunderstand our concern, interrupted Zix. The issue is not merely direct contact but expansion. Every human vessel that travels beyond your system carries these organisms. Every planet you colonize becomes potentially lethal to non-human life. Your very existence represents an unintentional form of biological warfare. Maya had anticipated this argument, which is why we're proposing a managed expansion framework. Designated human sectors with buffer zones between our territories and those of the hegemony. Strict protocols for trade and diplomatic exchange. We don't want isolation any more than you want conflict. The negotiations continued for weeks, with Earth's position strengthening as more hegemony attempts at covert biological countermeasures failed. The microorganisms adapted too quickly, evolved too efficiently to be neutralized by any technology the aliens possessed. Finally, a framework agreement emerged, not the subjugation the hegemony had initially envisioned, but a careful recognition of humanity's unique position. Earth would be granted a sovereign sector of space, larger than any previously allocated to a newcomer species. Human expansion would follow agreed-upon corridors, maintaining buffer zones between their colonies and alien worlds. Most significantly, humanity would transition from being classified as a Class 3 developing world to a recognized independent power within galactic affairs, a status leap unprecedented in hegemony history. 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the newly constructed diplomatic outpost at the edge of Earth's designated sector. Through the specialized glass, she could see both human and alien vessels moving in careful patterns, respecting the invisible boundaries that kept both civilizations safe. It's not how I imagined first contact would go, she admitted to Dr. Okafor, who had joined her for the commemoration ceremony. Humanity stepping onto the galactic stage, not as explorers or conquerors, but as a biological hazard to be contained and respected. Eliza smiled wryly. Evolution doesn't care about our expectations. Earth shaped us in ways we're only beginning to understand. The Prometheans are just the first of many surprises we'll discover about ourselves as we venture further from home. Below them, the first official trade exchange under the new protocols was underway. Robotic systems transferred goods between human and alien vessels, passing them through sterilization fields designed to neutralize any Promethean presence without damaging the cargo. The hegemony still doesn't trust us, Maya observed. They think we'll use this advantage somehow, that we'll leverage it into dominance. Can you blame them? In their position, wouldn't we suspect the same? A species appears with the perfect biological defense, immune to their most advanced weapons, capable of passive expansion that renders whole worlds uninhabitable to anyone but themselves. Maya watched as a hegemony diplomatic shuttle approached, maintaining the prescribed safe distance. I wonder what would have happened if they'd approached us differently from the beginning. If they'd treated us as equals rather than curiosities. History doesn't offer refunds on missed opportunities, Eliza said softly. But the future is unwritten. The Prometheans gave us a seat at the table. What we do with it is up to us. As the alien delegation prepared to board through specialized airlocks, Maya considered the strange twist of fate that had transformed humanity's position in the cosmos. They had ventured into space expecting to be the newcomers, the learners, perhaps even the underdogs in a galaxy of ancient civilizations. Instead, they had discovered that Earth had prepared them in ways they never imagined, equipping them with invisible guardians that had shaped human evolution and now reshaped humanity's cosmic destiny. The galaxy had feared nothing until humanity's secret weapon was unleashed, a weapon they hadn't built, hadn't designed, and hadn't even known they possessed. Evolution itself had armed them, and now the stars themselves seemed to bend toward human potential. The negotiations would be complex, the path forward uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would never again be underestimated.